Okay, right. So, very good morning, all of you. So, back to our weekend current affairs. Then one by one, they are getting joined. Right. So, before any doubts, clarifications of previous sessions. Hmm? So, this time, so few days again, another evacuation operation by India is happening now. So, we call this as Operation Kaveri. And the purpose is very clear, to evacuate the Indian citizens from Sudan. So, what is happening in Sudan? A civil war. Okay, so when you call this Russia Ukraine, that's a war. But here it is a civil war. That is, within the country, the two groups fighting each other. So, once any sort of the civil war happens, no doubt the people too will get affected. And it is the duty of the government of India to protect the citizens not only in India but also abroad. So, in tune with this, initially we alerted them. As the situation get intensified, then we feel that no option, then we send our air force, our ships, and see that the Indians will safely return back. So, after normalcy restored, maybe. And it's not the first time that India is doing this sort of exercise, saving Indians abroad. So, before we getting into okay, what actually happened in Sweden, okay, in Sudan, let us see what are the different evacuation operations hitherto conducted by India. Any idea before what we have it up? Okay, good. So, if you look at it in the part, Operation Kaveri right now it's going on. So it looks like around 3,000 Indians are stranded there. So we are planning to evacuate either from air or from the things. So in 2022, we have Operation Ganga. What for this? Stranded in Ukraine. Okay. So what is this? When you say that Operation Ganga, when India are there, most of the Indians who those who are pursuing their education, even the medicals, right? The student population is also there apart from the others. So we focused on that and we evacuated. Of course, we took the help of the Russia also at that time. Then we have Operation Dost. Here, the Syria and Turkey. But here it's not a civil war scenario or war-like scenario. It so happened that the natural disaster, the earthquake, okay. So to save the population of Syria, Turkey as well as rescue others. We send our forces, including needy materials. Okay, that's required. So there is an operation Dost. Then we have the Vande Bharat, that is 2020, very popular at that point of time, and need at the hour, right? Whenever, okay, sometimes no doubt you are rendering the helping hand, but at what time is also a question mark. Okay, so there's general saying, no, a friend in need, a friend in deeds, all the thing is concerned. So you have to raise the occasion when the need arises. So when the COVID-19 pandemic, when you are stranded there elsewhere, then this mission we initiated in different countries as Indians stranded in the multiple phases. We evacuated almost on 16 lakhs Indians brought back. Okay, the part. So the biggest operation indeed. Then you have the Operation Devi Shakti. This also in 2021. This is regarding Afghanistan. So as the Taliban's take over, again, there is what you call the government, that is the democratic government, has done away with, and authoritarian regime back, and the people scared about it. So we thought of evacuating those Indians as well. Okay, whoever wish to back, let them be so. So this all in 2021. Operation Devi Shakti. This is the Vande Bharat. Then Operation Samudra Setu. We have another in 2020. So Vande Bharat is an on air we evacuated, and this it says the pact is concerned by sea. So almost all 3,992 Indian citizens back to by sea. So different INS, Indian naval ships, Jalashwa, Airavat, Shradul, Magar. So they was utilized during these operations. Okay. Up to this, general is very important up to 2020. Then few more related because the possibility of asking sometimes top GK. A quick recollections. Operation Nistar, and when ML, the cyclone happens, ravage, like now the Turkey, Syria, you have the earthquake, and then the cyclone. Then Operation Nistar initiated. So we are stranded there, we have taken this. So all this we considered as humanitarian operations. Okay. Then similarly, in 2017, you have Insaniyat. So well, you find that large influx of Myanmar refugees into Bangladesh. Who are those Myanmar refugees coming to Bangladesh? What is the name? Rohingyas. Okay. Was wearing And of course, we closed our borders in a way, but still, the Bangladesh is alone, has to face it. And we thought of rendering our helping hand to Bangladesh here. So we extended the aid. This aid include all the basic items like pulses, rice, sugar, salt, cooking, biscuit, even mosquito nets, ready to eat foods, and some medicines and all the things we passed on to Bangladesh. So that is insane yet, and already appeared in number of banks and SSA examinations during that one. Okay, though we are not allowed the Rohingyas to come inside. Okay, that is the thing. Then, of course, in 2016, you have the Brazil evacuation when this Belgium was hit by terroristic strikes. At the time, we initiated. So, this all generally the Brazil evacuations hit by the terroristic strikes. Then we have Rahat when conflict happened. Okay, and Yemen again, Yemen civil war, like now Sudan civil war, and the government and the Houthi rebels. This Houthi rebels is also a complete examination questions. Number of things asked is where they are operating in. Okay, so at the time it was done it up. So nearly 5,600 people was evacuated from Yemen. Then Sankat Mochan. Normally this is a title associated with the Lord Hanuman, right? All the thing is concerned. So this is during the South Sudanese civil war, 2016. So now in Sudan, South Sudan. So once upon a time, Sudan is one, but the Sudan get divided. Okay, the South Sudan separated from the Sudan. Again, there is a civil war within the South Sudan. Though that's all happened in 2011. As so, at the time, we initiated this one. So maybe relevant now. Okay, Sudan and South Sudan. So finally, we have evacuated from the both. Then Operation Safe Homecoming, long back, this is of 2011, when stranded in the conflict on Libya. Then this Operation Maitri, most often at the time they asked in the examinations, and even today how to quote in international relations vis-a-vis relation with Nepal is concerned. When Nepal faced the earthquake, the Operation Maitri was initiated. Okay. Then Operation Sukoon. So when the Israel-Lebanon issue is there, so from the Beirut, we airlifted number of Indians. So because of that, we called it as the Beirut Sea Lift, airlift as well as the sea lift. Okay, a largest naval rescue mission. And along with Indians, some Nepalese and Sri Lankans too have made it up. So like this, even if we go back, 1987, Pumalai, and at that time they asked in the examinations this Eagle mission home. So this is all in Sri Lanka. Okay, the Jaffna is there. So we airdropped the supplies or the besieged town of Jaffna. So when the Tamil, okay, versus the government when the civil war is at its heights. So that was done. Similarly, the Kuwait airlift. So 1990s, you'll find this Kuwait, okay, the war over there when Iraq occupied the Kuwait, and later it was liberated. So at that point of time, we initiated this action. So around 1.5 lakh plus, okay, 1,70,000 Indians. So like this, innumerable operations, the evacuation operations was done. So whenever this sort of things, a quick recollection, especially the recent ones, is relevant. Okay, but now that the mains examinations are also in the corner, India's relations with neighbors or India's soft power, when you are talking about, you can quote these things because these are all humanitarian efforts, very relevant in a way. Okay, you need not explain them, but appropriately quoting, definitely you will get additional mileage. Okay, and even in ethics paper, you can count it this way. Okay, so back to when you say this, actually, what actually the Sudan crisis is all about, because finally we should know this is concerned. So from the mid-April onwards, the clashes erupted between the two groups in a way. One by this RSF, that is Rapid Support Forces. It is nothing but a paramilitary group led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. So normally this Dagalo name regularly appear in the news items. And the military, this is the paramilitary, this is the military. Now the clash between these two. And this was headed by Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. So general name, they use the word is Burhan. Okay, Dagalo. So there is a proposal that paramilitary and military should need to be merged as one. So paramilitary is going to be. So there is a disagreement on this issue. So they started fighting each other. Similarly, now they wish to transition to the civilian rule because that's most important right now under military, and the people are striving for again restoration of democracy. So in the process, this all happened. See how the common man is now suffering, and this picture is reflecting here. And this is a Dagalo, okay, a paramilitary head, and the Burhan, the military head. So a quick recollection when you say this, in 2021 itself there is a military coup. So military and the paramilitary, and paramilitary, this was formed only in 2013. So two wings operating simultaneously, and when now there is a disagreement, so most often looks like an ego clashes. Who will hold the power? Okay, two swords you cannot be in one. So similar way, the two powerful persons may not be single. So the clashes are imminent in a way. Even on the minor issues may turn into what I call an ego issues as well. And their sympathizers, followers, definitely want to have an edge. And same thing happened here. So when RSF redeployed in the country, increased its forces, then the military thought something is going wrong. So the clashes erupted. So as just now I said, when Sudan, South Sudan, okay, South Sudan separated in 2011. One of the things you have to keep in mind is nearly 75% of its oil resources were gone. Because overall, right, you know, pretty well in Africa is rich in natural resources, and all the countries are targeting it is, and even local mafia leaders, everything is wanted to enrich on this basis. So they're enriched personally rather than overall the country. So Africa is rich in natural resources, but a poor continent in a way overall. So the Sudan then lured these foreign investors, including UAE. So France, UAE, US, UK, they're all the things involved here. So similarly, Israel diplomatic ties aimed at getting the Arab and Muslim nations to form a political and military front against its arch enemy, Iran. This is also done. So one also you have to keep in mind, Sudan is basically an Islamic country. So most of the Muslims here. Then Russia also involved. So Russia's interest lies in the Port Sudan to build a naval base here because that itself is the world's busiest sea lines. So Russia wanted to. And the West, the including US, okay, they feel very happy when the Bashir was ousted in 2019. That is then dictator. So that clearly shows that America, Russia, China, France, and UAE, Saudi Arabia, all these countries in one way or the another playing its role in Sudan. So the foreign influences are there. They have their own interests. And from that you can come to conclusion that when the two groups are fighting, definitely one group will supported by some countries, another by other countries. Especially this paramilitary is supported by Russia, and Russia's wing is there, and that is what allegation is that, okay. So this is if you say the Sudan, okay, this is the South Sudan in a way it is concerned. How this African map look like. Apart from this one, there's allegation that there's a Wagner group also involving here. Okay. The other day, the Wagner group also said it's in the course and shortly we are going to exit at all completely. Even from the Ukraine war, you heard about the role played by the Wagner on behalf of Russia. And similarly, it's playing a different role in different countries, in different situations. So that clearly shows it's nothing but some sort of a private army. You can hire them. Okay. But mainly, it looks like under the influence of Russia. So it's also playing apart from the others. Yeah. I mean, the rough map, you can see this one, okay, where this Wagner group also involved in a different way. So because of this foreign influences that is happening, okay, okay. So because of the various influences happening, and this civil war continues. So let's hope that a diplomatic solution will be found shortly, and UN chief too is to find a solution. Otherwise, consequences will be dire indeed. And in this scenario, one more bit you have to keep in mind is Haki Pikki tribe. Okay. So, who are these Haki Piki tribes? Indian origin people only. Okay. But right now in Sudan, so they are known for making the products for Ayurvedic products in the African continent, as most of the Africans can't afford the English medicines and other the cost factor they are preferring. And this Haki Piki tribe is come up with these solutions, and they are catering to those people's needs. So they have this traditional medical knowledge, and they used to travel from the continent for the last many years. So they carry all these herbs and other medicines required for the treatment from India and sold them there. Okay. So now these people also as get is affected and we have to taken care. So keeping you okay, suddenly this name came up advisable from the exam point of view. Okay. Then to another news item. Any doubt on this Sudan? Because I don't want to deal completely descriptive mode. If you go to the descriptive mode, analysis will be a lot. Here, a North Sea Summit. Okay. They call this okay, the European Summit. Okay, North Sea Summit we called generally. So to boost this wind energy, so recently they met. So as the production is happening in North Sea, we call this as the North Sea Summit. So 9 European countries are holding this summit, scaling up wind power generation in this North Sea. Now that non-conventional source of energy, especially the solar, wind, and others gaining the momentum. So in this case, it is so the summit was hosted by Belgium. Okay. Then and one more thing is that Quad Summit is going to take place the next month. The date announced the May 24th in Sydney. So this is the third in-person meet. So now, as Sydney is very clear, Australia is hosting this meet. What is the Quad? I hope you learn this quadrilateral security dialogue. Okay, the full form we call this quadrilateral security dialogue. So we call simply Quad. So Quad implies the four. So these countries, I am sure that you are on this. US, then who else? Japan, Australia, and of course India. Okay. So they are holding this meet. And Quad, you have 2 or 3 questions recently appeared in different examinations regarding Quad. One they ask is Asian NATO implies. Okay, directly they ask it is. So, though generally we will not describe this, but the China and Russia consider this Quad group as Asian NATO. So, as NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is an American-led security grouping, a collective security. So the word here, quadrilateral security dialogue, when the words is there, so it looks like this group is also against them in this Indo-Pacific area. But India, Japan insisting from the beginning, it is not of military security. It is having overall encompassing, including food security, health security, etc. That is not restricted to here. So we don't want to give an exclusive color of security organizations. And one more question is Quad's naval exercise, Malabar. So these two regularly appearing in the examinations on the Quad. So make note of it. Malabar is a naval exercise among the Quad countries. So these two words, right? Asian. I mean, if we move the word, this is what here, right? Asian NATO. One, then Malabar. These two has to keep in mind on this. Then, of course, another news in a way related to China. So India surpasses China population wise. So now India is the biggest country. These are the population. Hitherto we said China. Okay. So UN World Population Dashboard they said 142, 142. Okay, here the difference is okay. Instead of 57 China, now ours is an 86 crores. So a record indeed. Here, what are the questions from the objective point of view? If at all we can come about few things is concerned when the birth rate, death rate, you have to keep in mind when birth rate is high, death rate is also high. Sometimes birth rate is low, death rate is low. Okay. Different terms will overpopulated, underpopulated, and we use the word zero population. Once appeared in the exams. What is the zero population? No population at all? No, birth rate and death rates are at its low and same. Okay, they are at its low and same, not at high. So that there is no increase of population much. Then what is negative population? Negative is going back, right? When this is decreasing. So birth rate, death rate, no doubt at its low, but birth rate is lower than the death rate. That's happening in Singapore, for example. Few countries they are achieving. So they are now encouraging the people to have more children. They are even announcing award, rewards, etc. So there's a negative population. Then we have different terminology associated with this. Okay, population census, for example, a demographic census we call. What's a demographic census? Every 10 years, it will happen in India. Okay, collecting information. And last census in India happened 2011 only. Supposed to be 2021, but because of the pandemic, not. When it is going to be 26. So right now it is stopped. So maybe again, maybe we don't know the postpone or so 31 it is. Then what is demographic dividend? What appeared in the group 1 exam? Demographic dividend implies so when a dividend is a positive trend, you have to make use of the population, isn't it? So when the people are more, yes, that itself is an advantage. Especially the workforce will be there, and with the workforce, the youth. If the population is more, then that is going to be helpful more. And India is having the demographic dividend, the workforce compared to other nations. So similarly, we have the TFR And another line is a total fertility rate. Similarly, and our life expectancy. The other two plays a very crucial role in the demographic indicators part. A statistic says that, okay, 15 to 64 years, normally when the population and all the thing is concerned, India still have 68% and China 69, and 65 plus hardly we have 7, but they have 8. So the old population, aged people compared to less. Okay. So that itself is a demographic deficient in a way. So right now the India followed by China, and third is US, Indonesia, then other countries. But a lot of different, though where is Mexico if you look at 128 and where is 1428 all the way. Okay. So Pakistan too fared in a way is the fifth largest populated country. So if you say this is Russia, find out where it is. Okay. So there's a possibility that Chinese population may decrease in the course of time. So this all statistics given by UNFPA. Advisable to remember the full form of UNFPA, United Nations Population Fund. Then of course we have the Earth Day. This year the theme, invest in our planet, because theme of the Earth Day, if you can remember, is sufficient. Okay, I know that you know all the information and everything. Remember the theme for this year. Similarly, April 24th, you have the Panchayati Raj. They observed. So, quick recollection of what are the amendments that provided constitutional status to Panchayati Raj? 73rd and 74th Amendment. So, thorough with them. And a few days back, when bank examination, they posed the question, uh, little republics implies. Okay. So, Gandhi called these panchayats, the villages, as little republics. So sometimes the question may be in a different format. So try to recollect those things as well. Then another recollection, 50 years of Keshwananda Bharati case as a polity that matters. The question of basic structure arised in this Keshwananda Bharati case, and it is also known so far is the biggest constitutional bench. How many judges? 13, 1, 3. Okay. After that, we don't have that much in a way. A landmark case, and these are all the judges involved at that point of time. So, which year? 70? 50 years. Okay. Logically, you can derive this conclusion. Good enough. And Keshwanda Bharti case reviewed which case? Supreme Court reviewed which case in the Keshwanda Bharti case? Golaknath case. Okay. A 9 members constitutional bench delivered regarding Golaknath case. Which year? 67, 68, 69. What is right? So, in this Golaknath case, it clearly says Parliament has no power to amend the Indian Constitution, finally, especially fundamental rights. Article 368 only lays down the procedure. Okay. Now this is power of. Okay, okay, no issue. Anything need to be stopped here, sir? Nothing. Okay. No. Okay, right. So, Then the bench headed by Justice Subbarao said in the Golaknath case that especially fundamental rights are not subject to amendment. Though Article 368 laid down only procedure, it has not authorized the Parliament to amend anything in the Constitution. So that sort of interpretation. And later 24th Constitutional Amendment came, which specifically tells that yes, Parliament can amend any provision of the Constitution, including fundamental rights. Then the Keshavanda Bharati case. So in this finally says yes, Parliament can amend, but they put the star mark. That is the basic structure. So what is basic structure? Again, it's a subjective and number of examinations. You find the descriptive question itself apart from objective. So be thorough with that. And finally, to have the doubts, what is basic structure? The preamble should be taken into consideration also. Right. Then another issue relating to Supreme Court. Recently, Supreme Court commented regarding the role of the governors, especially while rendering their consent for the bills. Here, the Telangana state only filed a case in the Supreme Court against the governors, what is called undue delay in giving the consent. Even silence. She is neither saying yes nor no, nor reserving the bill for the president. All the three options are there. So the point, because number of times we discussed this governor issues, but article is advisable. So when the bill came to the governor can sign, no problem. Can send it back for reconsideration, no problem. Second time comes, the governor has to sign because second time no option. Or another option is that governor can reserve the bill for the consent of the president. So options are there, but the time limit within how many days the governor should say yes or no, the consent. So here Article 200, because this is a thing you have to keep in mind, as soon as possible. They only talked about as soon as possible. Same thing related to president. Which article that is? Just to apply the rule, magic number 89. Okay, 1111, right? All the things. That itself is continuous. 111111. If you say this as soon as possible, there's no any specific deadline. So if you remember either, okay, union related or state related, other is very easy once you apply this 89. Anyhow, cross check. Not everything is, most of the articles relating to. So they said as early as possible. So because of that, there the president or here the governor maintain silence, that become a bigger question mark. So recently Supreme Court come out where will say this governor has to take the decisions in a reasonable time, though it has not even kept anything issue. So remember that article. Then another one, Supreme Court Collegium recalls proposal to transfer Justice Muralidhar to Madras High Court CJ in view of no response from center. So number of time we discussed this collegium issue. A quick recollection, the judges are appointed by whom as per the Indian Constitution? The president appoint the judges. Once upon time provision is that while appointing other judges of Supreme Court, president has to consult the CJ. Similarly, while appointing other judges of High Court, president will consult the Chief Justice of Supreme Court as well as the governor of the particular state. Similarly, Chief Justice of that High Court, all the processes there. But it so happened that in a judge's case, the Supreme Court usurped this power of executive, in a way hijacked, and it made it mandatory that the initiation should be done from the Supreme Court itself, but not alone, CJ alone, but by a colleagues of CJ. That is what how the collegium, the word came up. So 5 judges, including CJ, will sit and recommend names to the law ministry to the cabinet, then cabinet to the president. So before the initiation is to be done by the government, but now that is executive. Now that is doing by judiciary itself. That's what recently the minister, everybody is in question, how the judiciary appoints its own judges, how the judges appoints other judges. Okay, so it's an executive domain. So it's against the concept of separation of powers. All the issues are there. But anyhow, right now, though some problems and everything lacuna is there in collegial systems, still it looks like the best. So we have to wait and see how it is going to be done. And now, on the collegium recommended, is it a must on the part of the president to give the consent? Nothing like this. So president may send it back for reconsideration. So court collegium may recommend the same name or change the name of their choice. But again, if it comes back or anything else, the president has to sign or need not. Whereas other bills, you don't have an option, isn't it? President has to sign when second time it came. But vis-a-vis with the judges' appointment is concerned, there's no hard and bound rule of that. Okay. But to avoid clashes, the methodology adopted by the central government, there's a president in this case, is that silence. Silence is the best medicine. So you recommended, I don't like, why should I send it back? Because there's no any time bomb to say yes or no, number one. Or if at all I should say no, I should give the reasons. Why all this headache? So simply they maintain silence. So sitting on, that's what even the present CJ made an allegation against the government. Okay. So when the Muralidharan issue arises, he's about to retire now. So in this case of no point. So this is in a way the executive forced the judiciary to change its stance. Okay. So by maintaining silence, executive got an upper hand over the judiciary. But this sort of clash is not advisable. Okay. So some sort of mechanism need to be worked out in this case. So let's wait and see how it's going to be. Then another Supreme Court intervention here. The Delhi police informed Supreme Court that they will register an FIR. Of course, already FIR registered against WFI chief Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. What is WFI? Restless Federation. So they are virtually on the roads accusing Brij Bhushan of sexual harassments. So previously too, it was done and the government intervened. They said they will look into. When the government failed to do so, then for them they don't have an option rather than to come out to the streets and do the work in the way. Then even then the government is silent. Then finally the Supreme Court has to intervene. If it is an ordinary person, the moment you filed a case, naturally an FIR will be written. No doubt, if at all, just an allegation, the police will look into that allegation, whether it's right or wrong. Then based on this, they will arrest or not arrest the person. But in this case, they are simply silent. Even they are not looked into. They are not, no investigation was done. So that is what their concern is all about. Because of the political clout the Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh is holding and this quarters. So sometimes very pathetic in a way. So I saw one poster when it looked like uh, Commonwealth Games, right? 2022, the gold medals, how happy they are and things, and now how the scenario is that. So addressing the issue is very important rather than dragging on, and finally, the very what you call the country's image itself is at stake sometimes, and both the point of view. Okay, though PT Usha something that is okay talking about wrestlers in a way, then what the government is doing otherwise, isn't it? So is the most of the debatable issue. But once the issue comes, resolving is the bounding duty of the government. Whatever be the role played by a person, addressing is very crucial. Okay, and if really done something wrong, yes, they have to be booked and the things. Then, of course, the Prime Minister Modi laid the foundation for this. Again, when you're talking about the first, you have this time the digital science park. So when now this is a digital era, right? Just so general park, national parks, all these are now the digital park. So where it is coming up, Thiruvananthapuram, okay, is the Techno City campus of Thiruvananthapuram. So around 200 crores plus allocated, wherein 10 lakhs plus square SFT, you'll get, you're facilitating the industry, the businessmen, as well as the startups, and which to empower with the technology and initiative in this. So Thiruvananthapuram, if you remember this enough. Then of course one more in Kerala to find this India's again another first, the water metro. Okay, so it's powered by electric. So we call this electric boats. So almost all this is 78 electric boats and 38 terminals, and overall the network that spans 78 kilometers. But minimum fare is only 20 rupees. Okay, and maximum is 40 rupees. Okay, so minimum is high, I think. Okay, so maximum it is concerned. So 78 kilometers. Okay, 40 rupees is comfortable journey in a way. So hustle free journey in Kerala. Okay, so you can enjoy the beauty and reach your destination. So around 10 destinations is covering it is concerned. So connect 10 islands around Kochi. So more touristic attractions it is. Then similarly, the Vande Bharat trains. Here, now this manufacturing unit. Okay. There is 120 Vande Bharat trains to be manufactured in Latur. Where is this Latur? Maharashtra. So in the Latur, you have this rail coach factory. There, they're getting manufactured now. So the central government has sanctioned 600 crores to set up this coach factory in Latur. Then, of course, coming to ISRO, to recently launch the Singapore satellites. So this is Tilios 2. It's a primary satellite, and Lumilite 4 as the co-passenger took off from this Sriharikota. So Sriharikota is also known as Satish Dhawan Space Center. Who is the head of ISRO now? Chief of ISRO, Somnath. Right. And quick recollection is another thing. European Space Agency, they launched this JUICE, Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer mission, using an Ariane 5 rocket from this European Spitford from Kourou, that is in French Guyana. So advisable to remember this JUICE also. Okay, the full form of JUICE. Okay, so Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer mission. What is the main purpose? Explore this Jupiter and three of its largest moons. So these are the three: Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa. So this JUICE is expected to reach Jupiter. Okay, when 2031, and lifespan about 3 years, may be extended by 200 more days. They're saying about. But remember, this full form is very, very important from objective point of view. Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer mission. So this part is concerned. Okay. Then one more thing also, this in 2024, NASA will launch Europa Clipper mission. Another is also on the top. This is in 2024. And this also reach Jupiter in 2030 itself. So these two missions, they will unravel the mysteries of this Jupiter. So the few information, okay, advisable to remember this about Jupiter. Okay, about this, the moon's part. Okay. Then another thing, it may be generally useful. The Maharashtra school installs AI machine to assess food quality. Okay. Here, the government schools, hostels, or even a midday meal scheme, sometimes the quality is in question mark. Now that you need not worry. So have the food completely with the food, and once you keep it there, it will tell you each and everything. So what is the weight of the food and what are the calories in each item, and is it be recommended or not, eatable or not. Okay, even the rice, yes, is it properly cooked or not. Everything was done. So good enough that, okay, and artificial intelligence was used in this way, okay, for the benefit of it. So it's installed at Totsa Ashram School of this Itapalli in Maharashtra, in a bid to improve the nutrition level of the tribal children of Gadchiroli. So this is happened under the project called as, okay, Bamragad, and 8 government schools are part of it. And you take the photo of the student as well as the food. Okay, there's a speciality. So you may use this in the governance tools. Okay, example, descriptive way. In ethics, you may use this. Okay, descriptive way of how the technology getting used. Okay, so minimizing the corruptions, and that is one aspect, and catering to the nutritious level, maintaining that. Okay, all the things. Executive part. Then the Pralay missile. India is going to buy 250 more Pralay ballistic missiles. It says this. So these Pralay are nothing but a quasi ballistic surface to surface missile, and targeting 150 to 500 kilometers on the part, and developed by DRDO itself. Okay, where the missiles will be launched? What is the missile launching pad? Now, just now we said it in the satellites we launch from Shah, Sriharikota High Altitude Range, or Satish Dhawan. Missiles generally launched from Chandipur National Test Range. What is that name? Wheeler Islands. Right. Then Deepika Mishra became the first woman Indian Air Force officer to get the gallantry awards. So always one is and the first the count in a way this gallantry award this time we got. So a total of 58 personals received this year's gallantry awards. Then of course 19 years old Nandini Gupta, now the Miss India 2023. So is also fact that the Miss India 2023 will represent India in the contest of Miss World 2024. So let's see what is to be happen in a way. And finally, so end or beginning is a bigger question mark. So from where from end, from where from the beginning. So to address this issue, so for India, once upon a time, the last Indian village. So once upon a time, this last Indian village, now they have done away with, use the word first Indian village, Mana. So from where you are counting that matters. So from China is in the border, you are counting that's the first, isn't it? So if you are counting from Kanyakumari, that's in a way it may be. So why be lost? That mindset will be different. So from there's a long-standing proposal that why don't you change this wording? So recently, when the Prime Minister finally consented, so the land doesn't end here; it begins. So Uttarakhand's Mana is now first Indian village and not last. Okay. So the BRO replaces the signboard. So always the things that matters, isn't it? Cannot say anyway. Okay. So the other few important the current events of this week. Any doubts? Any further? Any clarifications? Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Bye. See you next week.